When you think of the FIFA World Cup, you think of Argentina, the reigning champions. You think of Brazil, the record winners of the tournament, and you think of perennial challengers like France, England, and the Netherlands. But what if I told you there's one national team that's rewriting its own story in the most dramatic way possible? And that country, ladies and gentlemen, is Indonesia. Just a few years ago, the Garuda were written off as one of Asia's weakest sides, but today they are suddenly being whispered about as the continent's newest, darkest horse. But there are still major doubts about them, especially among the experts. Most bookies don't even give them a very good chance of making it through the next few qualifiers, despite how they've looked so far in qualifying. And so that begs the question, do Indonesia actually stand a chance of qualifying for the 2026 FIFA World Cup? If you clicked on this video, then it means you are just as excited for the World Cup next year as we are. And if that's the case, then I think it will make a whole lot of sense for you guys to become part of the SportyTrader community by first of all sticking around, leaving a like on today's video, subscribing to the channel, and hitting that bell icon so you don't miss out on any of our upcoming videos. And without further ado, let's get straight into it. To truly understand why Indonesia's rise feels so shocking, you first have to know exactly where they came from. FIFA suspensions, internal federation problems, low investment in youth, and a league marred by scandals meant that the Garuda became one of Asia's whipping boys. In 2015, Indonesia were even banned from international football due to government interference. They plummeted down the FIFA rankings, at one point sitting all the way down in 191st in 2016, behind teams like Guam and Bhutan. Fast forward to today, and the transformation is almost unbelievable. The turning point came with a new vision. First, under South Korean coach Shin Tae-yong, who laid the foundations with discipline and modern tactics, and then with the bold appointment of Dutch legend Patrick Kluivert in January this year. Kluivert, with his European pedigree and experience at clubs like Ajax, Barcelona, and PSG in coaching roles, has injected fresh authority and ambition into this project. And a massive part of the project has been embracing dual national players from Europe with Indonesian heritage. That's exactly how stars like Sandy Walsh, Elkan Bagot, Rafael Struijk, and Ivar Jenner joined the project. Suddenly, Indonesia went from a squad of only local players to one mixing European experience with local passion. Combined with exciting homegrown youngsters like Marcelino Ferdinand and Witan Sulaiman, the Garuda had something they hadn't had in decades: depth, balance, and genuine quality across the pitch. And the results are already showing. Indonesia made it to the knockout stage of the 2023 Asian Cup, while their FIFA ranking has also climbed steadily, breaking into the 110s for the first time in years. And now they are in the thick of World Cup qualifying with real belief. But it's not all roses though. There are obvious strengths in this Indonesia side, but also some very glaring weaknesses. Let's start with the strengths first. Offensively, Indonesia are no longer one-dimensional. So far in World Cup qualifying in Asia, the team has scored 28 goals in 16 games. That's about 1.75 goals per game, and has conceded 22. Up front, Mohamed Ramadan Sananta is the top scorer in qualifiers with 4 goals, giving Indonesia a reliable outlet. Meanwhile, Nathan Tujuaon is leading in assists with 3, helping stretch defenses and create opportunities. Wingers like Witan Sulaiman and Ragnar Oratmangon bring both pace and unpredictability, constantly threatening opposition backs. In midfield, Marcelino Ferdinand has been clutch. He delivered a brace in the historic 2-0 victory over Saudi Arabia in qualifying, showing that he can perform in the big games. Ivar Jenner plays a key role too, offering balance, counter-transition threats, and defensive cover. Defensively, Indonesia finally have something they've lacked for decades: a solid rock at the back. Elkan Bagot, the Ipswich Town defender, has grown into the leader of the backline. At nearly 2 meters tall, he brings both aerial dominance and organizes those around him. He's also complemented by fullbacks Justin Habner and Jay Itzes, who have logged significant defensive actions. Tactically as well, Patrick Kluivert has tried to stamp his identity on this team. Unlike Shin's relentless pressing style, Kluivert emphasizes a more structured attacking approach, using width intelligent movement, and possession to create openings. But that has shown its downsides as well, with his side having scored more than a single goal in a match just once since his appointment, and most recently failing to get on the score sheet at all in a goalless home draw with Lebanon. Consistency is also a major issue. Indonesia has had dominant moments but also heavy defeats, such as a 5-1 loss to Australia in qualifying, where defensive lapses and poor positioning under pressure hurt them badly. The drop-off in quality beyond the first 11 also remains problematic. Backup defenders and goalkeepers like Dean James and Emile Odero often struggle under high pressure, just like we saw in the 6-0 thrashing against Japan, where Indonesia were put on the back foot for the whole match. It is so clear that depth, especially quality depth, is thin, and errors at the back or in transition remain costly. In big games also, Indonesia sometimes lose composure, just like in their home win against Saudi Arabia, where Justin Hubner's late red card left them clinging on in the final minutes. They've also shown vulnerability on set pieces and aerial duels, most brutally exposed in the 5-1 defeat to Australia, where they conceded from a corner and were repeatedly overpowered physically. Now let's talk about what everyone actually wants to know. Can Indonesia really qualify for the World Cup next year? For Asia, 2026 is so historic. The continent now has 8.5 spots for the World Cup, up from 4.5 just a few tournaments ago. That expansion is huge, and for nations like Indonesia, it means the dream is closer than ever before. And that brings us to what Indonesia have done so far and what still lies ahead. The Garuda qualified for the final round of AFC World Cup qualifiers by grinding out crucial results. One of their biggest moments came in June 2025 when Indonesia beat China 1-0 at home thanks to a penalty by Ole Romenej, a result that boosted their playoff hopes. But it hasn't always been smooth. In their final Group C match, Japan thrashed Indonesia 6-0, showing the gulf in class when elite opposition clicks. They also suffered a heavy defeat away to Australia, a 5-1 loss in one of their toughest matches in qualifying. Those results really matter. They expose vulnerabilities, especially against top-tier Asian teams, but they also offer lessons. With the World Cup spots expanding, Indonesia still have a pathway. Their next two fixtures, October 8th versus Saudi Arabia and October 11th versus Iraq, are effectively do-or-die matches. They will decide whether Indonesia qualify for the World Cup for the first time in their history. Wins in those games will put them in pole position, but with two decisive games in just 3 days, any slip-up could prove fatal. So, who exactly stands in Indonesia's way? At this crucial fourth round stage, the competition is truly fierce. In their own group, Saudi Arabia and Iraq are massive obstacles. Saudi Arabia, remember, were at the last World Cup in Qatar and pulled off one of the shocks of the tournament, beating eventual champions Argentina in the group stage. Iraq, meanwhile, are a battle-hardened side, always tough in qualifiers and physically relentless. But even if Indonesia survive this group, the journey is far from finished. Step 1 of the gauntlet, they will still need to face one of the teams from the other group. Qatar, who have recent World Cup experience having hosted the last tournament, the United Arab Emirates, seasoned campaigners in Asia, or Oman, a disciplined and stubborn side. And then comes step 2, the global playoff tournament. 6 teams from around the world will battle for just 2 golden tickets to the World Cup. Asia's representative could be drawn against resurgent African teams like Sudan or Comoros, or even a traditional powerhouse like Nigeria. From Oceania, New Caledonia will be waiting, while from South America, Bolivia are the candidates that no one loves to face. It's a brutal gauntlet, but for Indonesia, the dream is alive. Survive Asia first and then take on the world. So, can Indonesia really qualify for the 2026 World Cup? Honestly, yes, they can. This is not blind optimism. For the first time in decades, the pieces are in place. A strong coach, a new generation of players, and a pathway that favors more nations. But the margins are also razor thin. Beat Saudi Arabia and the Garuda will suddenly be flying high with momentum. Lose and they'll have to chase uphill. Either way, one thing is clear. Indonesia are no longer Asia's whipping boys. They are a legitimate dark horse, and the rest of the continent needs to take them seriously. So there you have it, guys, the incredible rise of Indonesia, Asia's newest dark horse. But what do you guys think? Can the Garuda shock the continent and make it all the way to the World Cup in 2026? Drop your predictions in the comment section. And if you want to keep up to date with every single twist and turn of the World Cup qualifiers, head on over to SportyTrader.com. We've got all the fixtures, stats, and previews you'll ever need. And guys, if you enjoyed today's video, then please make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel SportyTrader, and turn on the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any of our upcoming videos. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you all in the next one.